Welcome everyone to this session on the India Market Review. This is the evening of Friday, 23rd June 2017. We are back after exactly a month, 4 weeks back, when we had mentioned that the market is very much likely in an uptrend and that the uptrend would possibly continue. So today we review that statement, that view, and look at how the Indian market is faring and what we can expect in the near and the middle term going forward. So before that, let's look at the status of the global markets first, and what you should be seeing on your screen is the Dow Jones index, and in the US, so this has been updated till yesterday. As of now, at this point, the Dow Jones is not really bullish, but it has been consistently making life highs in the last 2 weeks, indeed even on Monday. But last 3-4 days it's definitely been down, and today also it is a little flat. So, but nevertheless, the Dow Jones clearly on an uptrend, and if anything, there is probably just a minor correction going on right now. Looking at the wider market in the US at the S&P 500, it is more or less the same picture. It's again been going up, making new life highs. So very much the same picture as the Dow Jones. Coming to Europe and starting with Germany. So Germany, had made a new life high, but somehow is not really able to sustain fresh highs like the US has been, quite possibly because of European issues. There is, I think, the German election sometime this year. The French election has come and gone, which has been a big relief for the Eurozone and for Germany and for the Euro project, with Macron becoming the president and also, I think, getting a majority in the parliament. So this is Germany, but just a little bit above its life high. Could definitely come back to test its old life high, but nevertheless at a new life high, so that's overall a good positive. FTSE, the pound is again dilly-dallying a bit. Brexit, hard Brexit, all the drama going on. And what you can see, at least in the last 2 months, as far as the FTSE is concerned, it seems to have some sort of a rounding top there, really not able to go much further up, and looks like for now 7,500, 7,600 seems to be, at least in the short term, a resistance for the FTSE, and could really be testing lower levels sometime in the future. So one of the things would, I think, be the Brexit talks and how they pan out. So really nothing much to say on that right now, but there is definitely something to keep an eye out for. All right, so there we go. That's the trend line to watch on the FTSE. Coming to CAC. CAC finally broke through this multi-year resistance at around 5,300, sorry, after not being able to break that for almost 10 years, and but definitely quite far from its life high. And now sort of, I think, after some sort of a consolidation for the last 4 months, last 4 weeks, this jump up was probably on account of Macron's victory and the pro-Euro project being stable. Perhaps we'll see another up move that will happen in the French index in the weeks to come. Looking at Nikkei more as a formality. So there you see it. What's interesting about the Nikkei is it's perhaps coming back to its, definitely not its life high, but close to its 2015 high. That index has definitely been doing well for some time, and be interesting to watch how it pans out in the coming days. But Nikkei is overall going up, but that really doesn't impact much as far as India is concerned. So if you look at the global markets, I would say slightly, the longer term picture is still bullish, but I think in the near term looks neutral at best, and maybe a little bearish as far as the US markets are concerned. So if you look at how this will pan out as far as the Indian market is concerned, and we look at the Indian index, and just making it simple and all the clutter otherwise, right? This is the price volume chart. Then clearly we seem to have formed some sort of a double top at around 9,700 on the Nifty. So you can very clearly see that as it's going up here, the volumes have dramatically dropped, and then there was an increase in volumes, again a small uptick in volume when it went up, but again you're seeing increasing selling pressure that is coming into the index. So for now, 9,700 is most definitely challenge for the market. I think perhaps on Monday or Tuesday rather. So we have Monday as a holiday on account of Eid in India, and Tuesday it'll be interesting to see how the market opens, whether it opens below this. By the looks of it, it looks quite possible that we're going to open below 9574 and then perhaps see lower levels. But all said and done, in the long-term picture is still very much bullish. There's absolutely no doubt about that. You can see how the market has run up from around 8,200, 8,300 levels to 9,700 levels, almost in a straight line with hardly any corrections. So maybe a correction back to 9,200 or 9,500, 9,400 would be healthy to keep this rally going, but right now too early to say how that's going to pan out. On the weekly chart, really nothing to be too concerned about. But on the daily chart, you are seeing some amount of bearish divergences, but then in a strong uptrend, that's a divergence that we should basically be ignoring, right? So this is how the Nifty is poised. A buy on the Nifty is only warranted now if it can break 9,700 on the top side with really, really good volumes. If that doesn't happen, then just looking at the Nifty only, then definitely it's time for caution, right? But having said that, we've seen in the past that individual sectors or individual stocks sometimes have really, really surprised us, and while the main index is saying one thing, there have been many times when the individual stocks or individual sectors are saying something else totally. So let's dive in and look at how the sector indices are doing. Well, there you see the Nifty Junior, old name, Nifty Next new name, basically the two stocks in the large cap, mid cap space. And that's definitely showing weakness, which is clearly visible, and definitely more than what we see on the Nifty main index. So the next Nifty next is definitely giving way. It's already come to the 50-day moving average to support there, and I think quite likely perhaps to break that in the next week. So it'd be interesting to watch how that pans out. So definitely clear weakness there, and very clear weakness on the indicators in the Nifty next, which you're not seeing in the Nifty itself. Okay, surprise, surprise. However, the Nifty 500 is still showing strength, right? So really nothing much has changed, I would say, as far as the last 1 month is concerned. This line was just more or less there. I moved it a little bit up, and again, more or less the picture of the Nifty, but the Nifty next showing more weakness. Coming to the banks, whoa, so the banks have rallied up. There's been some news or the other about the government of India doing something about the bad loan uh, problem, which just seems to be getting bigger and bigger by the week or the month. Not sure how the government is going to finally manage it, but then they're taking some active steps towards that. And because of that, there is this growing expectations that there'll be some sort of a bailout, if you want to call it that, for the banking sector in the coming weeks and months. And it is on that, I think, hope that the market is really rallying up, right? But the bank Nifty, again, showing a little bit of weakness today, but definitely this is one sector you don't want to be shorting too eagerly. Right, looking at the PSU bank space, well, this is a real surprise because well, this has really not gone up and has actually in a sense really come down a lot. I am seeing this after some time. 1 second. Alright, so PSU banks clearly collapsing in a sense, too strong a word, but nevertheless if you look at the bank Nifty, those are really clearly, very clearly going up. So it looks like the private sector banks are holding the banking space up, but the PSU banks are clearly coming down. And so far, the worst performing sector that we have probably seen. So that is indeed interesting, and we'll have to see what this means when we look at the individual banking charts. But clearly, this is back to the multi-year support level, and if it breaks that, then the PSU bank rally is definitely over for now, and perhaps concerns about how the bad loan situation is really going to get treated and pan out. All right, that's interesting. Looking at the realty index, which has clearly been going up for quite some time now, but clearly showing a very clear double top in the realty index right now. All right, so there you have it. And why is this going all the way? Right, so that's where we are, and it would be good to watch that. I would suspect that with the overall market cooling off, this is also going to come down. There's clearly a bearish divergence in the realty index, and I think it's going to be tough for this to maintain its uptrend. Probably see a break of this trend line and then all the way down to 240 rupees in the coming maybe 1 or 2 weeks. But this is the trend line to watch, 262 level. All right, so BSE Auto has clearly turned down, and today it has come down quite substantially and quite clearly and strongly with the way these indices are behaving. So no doubt that the index is the auto index or the auto space is clearly correcting. I'm wondering whether this is on account of anything to do with the GST rollout and any impending trouble or whatever, but I'm more or less confident that the auto index is going to head back and test this previous life high of 23,200. So we've got another about 1,400 point fall, about 5-6% on the auto index that we could very likely expect. So let's see how that pans out next week. And then consumer durables, well, that's also definitely taking a pause, coming down. So another sector which is in the red. Capital goods has clearly topped out in my opinion. If you look at it on the weekly chart, then clearly, it's going back down to 16,800 or something like that. And yeah, all right, so clearly resistance zone there that we'll have to keep in mind in the future. But whether this is going to crack this level now at about 16,800 or not, we'll probably just have to wait and watch. Definitely too early to say. FMCG, finally one bright spot. Oh, 1 second. We were looking at consumer durables, capital goods, right? So weakness getting amplified in the capital goods space, no doubt. I think further downsides are definitely likely. FMCG has made a clear double top. It's been quite a rally in that in the last many weeks, but looks like this is now coming to some sort of pause, or not a pause, but at least a correction at this point. You've had almost 2,000 point rally from 8,800, say 9,000 to 1,000 for about 1,500 points, almost without any meaningful correction. So is this start of a correction or not? Too early to say, that's for sure. Weekly chart weekly chart looking quite bullish in my opinion at this point. So definitely short-term weakness, but long-term strength. All right. And then healthcare, well, that's clearly had a bounce after that big fall in May, but well, clearly it's exactly what the correct word, I think. It's a bounce, probably headed back down in spite of all the euphoria or the relief rally, in a sense that this probably looks like it is. IT index, well, IT was doing well in May, right? Could see this uptrend channel, but well, looks like that is clearly petering out now, and it's gone to the end of the channel. What's interesting is it's come to the trend line more or less, and the really important thing will be whether this trend line holds or it does not hold. Only the holding of the trend line will actually make the market. Will the IT space go back up? Metal index, so well, that's clearly struggling. Really not able to uh, I think decide. It had gone sideways for what, about 3 months, sort of come down one step, again going sideways for 3 months. At the very least, it's consolidating, and seems like a pretty long consolidation going on. And on the weekly charts, clearly this is like this, right? So, well, let's remove that clutter. Looking like a rounded top for sure. Weekly chart, daily chart, definitely range bound, and more likely to probably break down than go above this level of 11,275. Right. BSC power index, that's clearly going sideways. Like you saw the What? Which index is that? I'm just thinking. Yeah, the banks, PSU banks. Looks like it's just fallen like that, then going sideways, and then really nothing much after that. This is moving average stuck between that, and we'll have to see whether it can hold this or it'll break down or what it'll do next. PSUs clearly on their way down. Market doesn't like them anymore. 9,000 it was plus, it's now almost at 8,000, and I would suspect further downsides are very likely on the PSU index. All right. Realty. Alright, this is one bright spot. The realty space, we actually been talking about that for a long time. We had some good moves today in the realty space. So this is a multi-year bottom, and it's not yet really broken out of that, but yeah, it's very much on track to perhaps break out of that. This is a weekly chart, longer time frame, all looking good. In the shorter time frame, some amount of weakness in the last 1 or 2 days, but long term, all good. So this is probably the only index this time, realty, which is looking bullish. Every other index is actually looking quite weak, if not outright bearish, like the autos and the PSU banks. So if you put all that together, then the views for the future are probably not very optimistic, at least for the next 1 or 2 weeks, I would say. And then we'll have to review based on what the charts tell us at that time. All right, so just to come back to the Nifty. So if you're trading the Nifty, you definitely, I think, be cautious, and that's the level to watch out for on the Nifty. If this level breaks, which is at around 9,550, then you must at least close your trading positions. Long trading positions should all be closed. Shorting, yeah, if you are a quick short-term trader, 1 or 2 weeks, sorry, 1 or 2, 3 days types, then yeah, shorting is definitely a good possibility and something to think of in the coming, I think 1 or 2 weeks for sure. All right, what are the levels? 9,700 plus on very good volume on the upside. That's the only time to go long on the Nifty. Otherwise, it's quite possible that the Nifty could be seen at even these levels, which are like around 9,400. And before that, we have, of course, the 9,450 mark. So about 100 to 150 points down is definitely a distinct possibility on the Nifty, right? So limited upside, more like some correction has already started, and unless something dramatic happens on Tuesday, is likely to continue in the coming days and 1 or 2 weeks perhaps, right? Okay, all right. So that brings us to the end of part one of this IMR. We're going to close the session here, and on the other side in part two, we look at the Nifty stocks after a month's gap and see what they are telling us on an individual basis. So thank you, and see you on the other side.